Now if you come on down to Highbury, you can see Thierry Henry. He is the best player you will ever see. Thierry Henry. Now if you come on down to Highbury.
Hello and welcome to From Dial Square to Where. I'm going to just change these windows because I don't like it. Hang on a second. There we go. That's much better. Yeah, welcome back to Stan the Man. It's been a little while since you've been on the show. How are you, mate?
I'm doing very well. Can't complain. It's a bit rainy here in the afternoon here in downtown Vancouver. But other than that, glad to be here.
Right, it's fantastic to have you back. You're always the housewife's favourite, so bound to get a few more views with you on the show, Stan. The groover from Vancouver. Ryan will be joining us soon, but we've also got Kunjan. How are you, mate? Great to see you.
I'm not happy. I'm not happy because you and Stan are smiling, and it's a crime against humanity to be an Arsenal fan and smile and be happy and celebrate. So I'm not happy about this, Andrew. I'm not happy about this, Stan. Can we not be happy? Please.
Listen, you know, I'm not even got to the football yet. I'm just happy to see Stan.
Now we're not allowed to be happy.
Now we're going to talk about the football. Then we can just be solemn, you know, like we're supposed to be.
Yeah. That's the way it's supposed to be. We're wrong for being happy.
Exactly.
Especially if Ruben Neves is tuning in. We don't upset him.
No, exactly.
Or Ashley Young, or
Gabby Abdul-Lahore. Exactly. Well,
we're not meant to be happy.
In fact, the only thing that makes me happy about football is watching Ashley Young get bird shit in his mouth. And I really hope that happens again very, very soon because he still to this day, you know, denies that it happened, even though it's caught on video for all to see.
I do remember that.
He actually denies that it happened. But long may it continue.
But it explains what comes out of his mouth now. You see?
It's always there, mate.
They say it's supposed to be a sign of luck. Not for the bloke whose mouth he drops in, though, but...
I think it was luck for the bird. It found a real shithole to drop into.
But imagine being that bird. That bird should really be famous. That would be amazing if it was ever tracked.
Maybe the bird did celebrate after doing that.
Yeah, maybe the bird was really lucky after that. Maybe the bird won the lottery and is now living in the Seychelles somewhere. You never know. Anyway, thank you. Nice for watching. Sorry, I'll put my teeth in and actually put my words in the right order. Thanks for watching, Steve. Great to see you in the chat, as normal. But we've got a bit of solemn talking to do about one victory. It's been a couple of games, obviously, since we were last on. I think we can briefly touch on the Liverpool game. You know, some good things to come out of that. Obviously, not the result, but some fairly decent performances. We can sort of skim over that one. But obviously, mainly we can talk about the Villa game, which was a fantastic result in the end of the day as well. So, Stan, we haven't spoken to you for a while. No. So let's have a bit of a chat, really, about, generally speaking, you know, how positive things are at the moment with this young squad that we've got, with the manager, how great it is now that the fans in the stadium are just so vibrant, you know, celebrating. You're doing that disgusting thing, celebrating these performances, winding other fans up. But generally speaking, I mean, it's been going brilliantly. I mean, let's talk briefly about the Liverpool game first. I mean, we all thought that maybe we didn't have too much chance going into that game, but we wanted a good performance. I think at the end of the day, we got one, didn't we?
We did. Going into the game, because obviously we were playing 3 games in a week, my only concern going into the game, and I said this on the Arsenal fan circle before the game, that if I'm looking at the points, I felt that there were more points on the table that would be available to us than they would be at Liverpool. And I was just worried that maybe going into the Villa game, although we might be able to field our strongest 11, would they be a bit leggy? You know, should we have made some changes in the Liverpool game? But going into that Liverpool game, I mean, when we got to the first half, I mean, I was like, we are in this. You know, when that halftime whistle blew, I'm like, we are actually in this. We are still in this.
That would have cut in, but don't you think? I mean, even at half time, if it was a boxing match, we've been slightly ahead on points. I think we slightly shaded that first half rather than being in it. I thought we were more than in it. I thought we were pretty much controlling the game. We limited them to hardly anything, didn't we?
Yeah, very much so. You know, to a man, everybody seemed to be doing their job. You know, and you look at a player like Martinelli, who's one of our forward-going players. He's not bothered about coming back and doing the dirty stuff as well and helping out when it needs to be a defensive shape. And that's a joy to see. That shows you that you're playing for each other. You're not just on your own, waiting to get the ball, and then you do your thing. If you lose the ball, you wait for it to come again. No, you get stuck back in again. You track back, you help out the defense. So it's been a joy to watch. Mikel Arteta, for me, has really impressed me. You know, I was always 50-50 on the appointment. He wasn't my first choice. But when he was announced, I wasn't like, oh, no, what are they doing? So it's been up to him to win me over. And, you know, he's been ticking the boxes as we've gone along. For me, there's only one box now that needs to be ticked, and that is Champions League qualification. Well, let me reel that back. European qualification. That's what I said at the beginning of the season, that the minimum requirement has to be the minimum of getting into the Europa League. Because it doesn't matter how much money is going to be available. And by all accounts, it sounds like there is going to be a fair size available to us. If we don't make the Champions League, then we can only buy lower tier players. The big boys all want to go there. So that's the last box. And if we make it, for me, he would have overachieved, and I'd be happy with that. If we get into the Europa League, then for me, he's reached the achievement, and I'll be happy with that. But if we don't get Europe at all, I'll be torn, because I really like what I'm seeing with this team. I like the connection between the manager and the team. But in any walk of life, you have to have targets, right? You know, if you're working in sales, you know, your sales manager, no matter how much he likes you, he wants to see those figures. So if we don't make Europe, I'm torn on how I would feel about the situation moving forward, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll come to you on this one, Kunjan. It really annoys me when I see people on Twitter who say they don't want us to qualify for the Champions League because we're going to get thrashed by this team and that team and so on, and we're going to get battered, and they don't want to see it. And I just think the only thing you've got to say to these people is, and I've said this before on this show quite a few times probably, if Spurs can get to the final, why the hell can't we get to the final? You know, I'm not saying we would get to the final, but why couldn't we? You know, it doesn't make any sense to me at all. We need this Champions League qualification so badly to raise the profile, like Stan just said, to get better players, for our players as well, for their own benefit. Because if you can imagine just for 1 second how desperate we are for a Champions League qualification, don't you think that the players are also just as desperate for Champions League qualification as we are, to test themselves against the very best? And obviously, we're strengthening further in the summer as well. We're going to have an even better chance next season in the Champions League. I mean, surely that makes sense. I can't understand why anyone would think different.
I think the problem is right now, and we've mentioned this a couple of times on the show, and that is that Stan said a very important point earlier about, you know, having 3 games in a week. But I do think we need to get used to with that in any sort of European setting, be it the Conference League or be it the Europa League or the Champions League. We need to get used to playing 3 games or 2 games a week without breaking a sweat. And that's what we've been used to for 20 plus years. We've been in a bit of a slump for the past few years. We need to get that profile up. What Mikel is bringing into the squad from the day one, he has said, this is not where we are supposed to be. We are supposed to aim higher. I think there was a report recently that came out that said, Vinay on record said that we are already making progress faster than what they expected, which is great news. I'll just track back to 2 seasons and circle it back to what you mentioned about the Champions League profile. We got in Gabriel and Thomas Partey with Europa League football. We made 6 signings last season, which included £50 million Ben White signing with no European football. So Arsenal do have the pull. But when we start talking about hungry players, when we start talking about players who have ambition, who have goals, they're looking for the clubs where they fit in, they embed, grow with the team, and aim higher. When we're talking about the Premier League, right now, there are two people dominating in the Premier League, Liverpool and Man City. Chelsea, especially what's happening right now, big question mark next season. I'm not saying they're out of it, but it's a big question mark. Let's not write off United. However shit they are, let's not write them off. They're sleeping giants that can wake up with just one appointment and everything changes. We need to get to that level where we're every season competing. I'm not saying we're winning it, but we're competing. Getting us into the Champions League, building a profile, raising the bar for the players like Saka, Martinelli, Emil Smith Rowe, Lukonga. We don't speak of Lukonga because lucky for us, we have a Partey, we have a Xhaka. God forbid something happens to either of them this season. Can you confidently rely on Lukonga? I don't. I love the guy. You can't rely on him. We've seen Benjamin White. We've seen Benjamin White and Gabriel struggle against the bigger teams, be the Liverpools, the Man Cities. Throw them the acid test, the Barcelonas, the Real Madrid, the Juventus, the Bayern Munichs. We cannot forget the humiliations of the 5-1s twice. We can't forget that. But this is what we need. We need to go out there, maybe get a thrashing, but that builds up your confidence. That builds up your experience. That builds up your hunger to go up against the best. Because if you want to be the best, you have to fight against the best. So anyone who's saying, let's not get to the Champions League because we're going to get thrashed, have absolutely no idea what they're speaking about.
No, exactly. And let's not forget as well that every team has a cycle. Football is cyclical. You know, eventually Liverpool are going to. They're aging already. They're not quite over the hill yet. Obviously, clearly with all their results, but they're going to get there at some point. They're going to have a major change in their squad. Klopp's already said that he's most likely to be leaving the season after next. Man City, Pep's not going to be there forever. We know that. Maybe sooner than we think, he's going to be moving on. We need to be ready to pounce. I mean, even in the Champions League, when you look at Bayern Munich, they're not going to have Lewandowski next season. So they're going to have to replace him. Maybe they take 2 or 3 players before they actually get the right player to replace him. So maybe they're not going to be quite as strong next season. We need to be ready to pounce. And I think we're at that stage where we're very, very close to being that team who could take over from Liverpool, who could take over from Man City in a couple of seasons' time. And, people are actually using us now as the benchmark for what Man United need to be doing, what they should have done years ago. Actually, just get rid of the whole lot, start again, like we have. And we're a couple of seasons into that now. Like you said, Kunjan, we're ahead of schedule already. But we've done all that hard work. And regards to having the 3 games, I'll come to you now, Stan. We can talk a bit more about the Villa game. But regarding that 3 games in a week situation, we knew that we were going to struggle a bit because we've trimmed down the squad to such an extent. We've only got a couple of, really proper high profile. Well, maybe 3 if you include the closer, which is what I put on the on the title of this show, which we can come on to in a bit. The big bad Bobby Holding is the closer. But maybe if you include him, we've got like 3 good quality substitutes to come on. Well, maybe we can backtrack on that comment, good quality, when we talk about the actual performances. But we've got a trimmed down squad, which we've got to obviously go to and sort out in the summer. But anyway, sort of going off on a massive tangent, as we always do on this show there. But let's talk about the Villa performance, so we can talk about some individual performances in a bit more detail there. I mean, I thought it was a very, very strong away performance, especially 2.5 days after that game against Liverpool. I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, we came that out of that Liverpool game, but you could see that their heads hadn't dropped. You could see that they took a lot from that game. They knew that they performed to their good abilities in that Liverpool game, that they didn't just go out there and stroll around. So they came bouncing back into this game. I just felt that it was a glaring example of what we're missing up front, you know, because as much as we're getting a lot of goals from ESR and Saka, it's not something that we should be relying on. We still need somebody in the middle that can get you your bread and butter goals, you know, and we are severely missing that. So for me, the 10 games that we've got left, each one for me is almost like a cup final.
Yeah,
You know, it's almost.
But
like,
we're not allowed to celebrate any of the winning those cup finals.
No, you can't do that. It's almost like the league's ended, and every game now is a cup final for us, and we're taking it result by result, and everybody's going out there, and you can see that they're playing like they're in cup finals as well. The Aston Villa game, I'm really glad that we were able to pull one over on them as well, because they're a team that I've never really been bothered about Villa in my life. Usually they are who they are, but after their shenanigans with the bids for ESR and also the Martinez stuff, I'm glad that we were able to, you know, put a little pin in that one, you know, because they did get under my skin a little bit. But what's the next game that we've got now? Who are we playing next now?
Crystal Palace.
Yeah, again, we're just gonna have to take that one as it comes, but I'm really happy with what I'm seeing. Okay, we're only winning, we're grinding out these results, but very, very happy.
Yeah, I mean, the performance in the first half I thought was so impressive. After that Liverpool game, 2.5 days, it was an away game. I mean, everyone knows that watches this show knows how I feel about Villa, living where I do, and I was so delighted for my lads that they've got the bragging rights at school again for another season. And let's not face facts. We've got the double over Villa this season, which is not an easy thing to do. We've got the double over Wolves, not an easy thing to do by any stretch of the imagination. We've got a double over Leicester, not an easy thing to do by any stretch of the imagination. No matter where they are in the league this season, they're still a tough team. So it was just a really good professional performance. I mean, you could see that we started to really tire second half, but that backs to the wall defensive performance in the last half hour, Kunjan, it's got to be something that you've got to be so proud of as a team. Sometimes, to me, a game like that where you really do ride it out in the last half hour is just as satisfying as like a 4 or 5-0 win. I really enjoy them sometimes, and the character that they showed holding on to that lead. And let's not face it, they had one shot on target the whole game, Villa, and that was that last one, the last minute, the last kick of the game. It's really impressive, wasn't it?
You know, so I'll backtrack a bit on what you're just saying. Of course, it's impressive, but when we speak of the whole celebration thing, it's blown out of proportion. And I'm not being defensive, because I watched the entire game up until the end, especially the celebrations. Most of the celebration was for one man, Leno, and for right reason. Ramsdale ran to him to celebrate with him. People are not getting the point. This man has been not frozen out, but has been left on the bench because there is someone better. It's bound to take a hit on your confidence. You're being the Arsenal number one. You're wearing the number one jersey. You've represented one of the best teams in the world on a national stage. You know, like you're a high profile player. And now you've been left on the bench by a keeper who's been relegated twice. It's bound to hit your confidence. And as an Arsenal fan against Villa, the minute I read Ramsdale out, my exact reaction was, oh, shit. And if I was feeling that as a fan, imagine what the players must be feeling. Sure, they have the confidence, but it's no Aaron Ramsdale. For them to see this man come back into the squad, grab a clean sheet, make that last-ditch save, which maybe would have gone in or maybe wouldn't have gone in, and we have the full-time whistle, we get the 3 points, come this much closer to a Champions League place, is a reason to celebrate. So you could demean it by saying we were celebrating like we won the league or we won the Champions League. That's fine. What we've done, even against Liverpool, we forget, like, sure, the second half wasn't the best. The first clear-cut chance in the second half against Liverpool fell to us. If Odegaard had buried that first goal, I'm not saying the result would have changed, but it would have been a different game altogether. But ifs, whats, maybes, put that aside, we played a very strong game against a very strong opposition. Two of the best teams in the league, and we gave them a fight at the Emirates.
Yeah.
at Villa, we were away to a team. we were linked with Buendia, and we had a meltdown and we didn't fight. I want to watch that game again to wonder where that little man was. I did not see him anywhere on that pitch. I saw him nowhere on that pitch. When you look on paper at Martinez, you've got Matty Cash, you've got Ings, you've got Bailey, you've got Buendia. I don't remember anyone except Matty Cash. I think because he
Coutinho.
was.
Yeah, don't forget Coutinho.
Who? Who?
Exactly. I forgot he was playing.
I thought he went back to Barcelona.
We're linked with him now.
We've been linked with everyone. I promise we'll be linked with Tony Adams at this rate. But the point is that when we're watching that, and that's a very strong away performance at a very strong away ground, I don't see where the problem is. Forget celebration or not. It's something to be very proud of the team, and to be beaten at Villa Park with a very strong squad by the youngest squad in the Premier League. It's a very proud moment to be an Arsenal fan. This is something that is a revolution. We should all have our heads held up high, celebrate, and support the team till the end, until whatever the result is, because this is something to be very proud of.
But basically, they're getting it completely skewed, and I can't remember who I heard this comment from. It was one of the podcasts I listened to, and I think it might have been Tim Stillman actually on the Arsenal Vision podcast. But he said, "Excuse me, they're getting it skewed. All these people as well. They think that we're celebrating because we beat them, and they think it's all about them. It's not about them. It's not about beating Wolves. It's not about beating Villa. It's about us. It's about the team dynamic. It's about the way that we are getting these results, the way that we're playing, and celebrating their own performances and celebrating it with the fans. And what happened was with that last minute save against Villa, it just so happened to be because Tim Stillman actually spoke about it because he was there at Villa Park and said that normally Villa would have attacked the Holt end in the second half, but they chose to swap round for some reason. So it just so happened to be that save was right in front of our fans in the last second as well, which is why the players were right next to our fans and celebrated there at the final whistle. And these teams, and especially Villa, they're trying to invent some kind of rivalry between them and us. It doesn't exist. They just want to be at the same level as us, which they're not. And the fact that there's so many points behind just shows that in the league. Despite the fact that we've got the youngest team in the league, they're just nowhere near us. But they're trying to invent some kind of rivalry nowadays. But
I just want to highlight something, Andrew. Sorry, if you don't mind. I want to highlight something about the celebration, if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course.
Same weekend, and this is not banter, this is factual. On the same weekend, there was a certain player who scored and came off. His manager embraced him in a bear hug and may have even dislocated a couple of vertebrae. No one has spoken about that. We celebrate for winning 3 points as a team. There's a problem. So why is it okay if Tottenham do that, but it's a crime against humanity if Arsenal do that? I don't understand this.
That no other team, from what I remember, no other team has been criticised for celebrating a win this season or last season, or for as long as I can remember. None. Can you? I don't know if anyone can remember. I can't remember anything being criticised.
What you just said a moment ago about Aston Villa wanting to be our rivals, I'm of the opinion and the mentality, how I would talk to the players is that we don't just have one rival in Tottenham Hotspur. We've got 30. We've got the rest. Every other team in the league are our rivals. We don't have any friends. If you want to celebrate, you celebrate.
Absolutely bang on.
Sometimes as well. I don't know how about you. Especially when you're watching a game like that. And and especially when it gets a little bit hairy in the last sort of like few minutes or so, and then the final whistle goes, don't you feel a sense of relief as well?
Mm.
and relief. So imagine how you are on your sofa when you might shout out, yes. Imagine what it might be like for players also wanting to let out relief because they know that they've just got one step closer to what their goals and what their targets are. But Ryan made a really good point that before he's here now, but what he put in the chat box, and it's something that I've been saying, and I think it's the biggest improvement that I've seen in Arsenal since towards the end of the tenure of Arsene Wenger and right through the Emery era, going up to a little bit of the Mikel Arteta. Our biggest problem was that we would lose points at the places where we should be getting points.
Absolutely.
We'd be losing stupid points against Wolves, against Burnley, against Brighton. And then we'd have a season where we'd have quite a good showing against Man United. We'd have a good showing against Tottenham. We'd have a good showing against Chelsea. But none of it would matter because we lost so many points against places, teams where we should be getting a lot more out of. And that seems to be rectified, as what Ryan pointed out, Previously, we got 3 points out of 18 at places like that. This season, we've got 18 out of 18. Once we figure that out and once we understand that we can do that, that's when it's now time to start to tinker and say, right, we've got that bit sorted out. Now we need to look at the big teams and see what it is that we need to do to get more out of the games against the so-called bigger teams.
Yeah.
So that for me is the biggest improvement.
It is. That's why I was so delighted with that win against Villa. I was just so overjoyed when the game finally sort of ended and the whistle went and we got that, because it was just such a brilliant. Going back to when was it? Season before last, when we beat Liverpool 2-1 at home after they won the league.
Yeah,
I absolutely adored that win, even though we were so lucky in that game in lots of ways, and they were battering a door down, but they didn't quite break through and we held on and got that 2-1 win. I just loved that win because it was a back to the wall win and gritty and hard and determined, but it meant even more against the Villa the other day because we've got this brand new team now, and I desperately want this team to succeed. I desperately want the manager to succeed. They've got us all on side. I can speak for us all when I say we all love this team, all the players. And even at the moment, I'm even including players like, Granit Xhaka at the moment because they're playing their part. We might not want him to stay long term, but at the moment, he's playing a really key part. And I think we were all gutted when he got that and pissed off when he got that booking for... Which it wasn't a booking, and we felt a bit sorry for him on that day. And that's how this team has changed around our whole perception of them because of their performances, because we're really buying into them. We're buying into the whole setup. And that's why I was so happy for the team as a whole to have got that win. But we didn't even look, too threatened, even though we were knackered. And I'll come to you now, Ryan, and I must say welcome, by the way. I haven't said hello to you yet because of we were obviously talking, but welcome to the show. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks again. Thanks for the invite. I do apologise for being late again.
That's all right, mate. That's all right. We're all used to it by now. We know that you're just going to drop in when you're ready, so don't worry about it. It's no problem at all. Just good to have you here. But I want to come to you on a couple of different. There's a few things I actually want to talk about this evening, and I'll probably forget a couple of them, and I'll kick myself. But one of them is really the defensive performance, I think, and how great this defensive unit is, even though it's a weakened one at the moment with Tomiyasu being out. Obviously Cedric has been doing amazing things on the pitch. And imagine, if Tomiyasu had been in this team as well, it'd just be even better in some ways. But overall, even and the reason I've named the show, we've got the closer. Like with Holding coming on, he's playing a part, and I love him for that because he's lost his place, similar to Leno. He's not, not moaning in the slightest, and all the players and all the rest of the squad, mobbed Leno at the end of the game for his performance. Holding the same, everyone getting backslapping Rob Holding for coming on, even though he only came on for a few minutes at the end of the game. But he's a team player. That's why I've always sung his praises, haven't I? That's why I like him. I like his attitude and the way that he's coming in, in the old school 3-5-2 thing. That's a gif going around now. That when he came on the pitch, it's great. And I think that the fact that we are not looking threatened is just brilliant at the moment. Everyone's going on and on and on lately about, and quite rightly so, about our forward players, our young front line, and the way that Lacazette's been playing over recent weeks and so on and so forth. But let's just have a bit of a hats off moment to the central defenders as well, and the defence as a whole, because I just think they've been wonderful.
Well, yeah, it's like you say, we're not exactly full strength. We're not missing Tommy Asu in the sense of on the pitch. We're missing him because he's not in the squad itself. And that's the thing we haven't noticed, because of how good Cedric's just slid in these last few games and just done a job. You wouldn't know any different. And it's good to have that backup, because we're going into, was it the first Wolves game when he first came in? We always having our doubts. They could really target that area. But no, that's not been the case at all. And again, massive props to him, and he's continued it as well. It's not like he's at one game and he's done a Pepe and dropped off. There's consistency there with Cedric now. And like I say, when Rob Holding's come on, he's lost his place, but he's not complaining either. He's happy to do the squad job. But Neno's not complaining this season when he's got dropped. He's not gone to media and done a Lukaku interview, things like, I wish I wasn't here, I should have gone this, that, and the other. He's just happy to be here. And I keep saying it on my podcast. I think I said it last week, and then people probably get bored of me saying it. But since Aubameyang got given the drop from the Southampton game onwards, the camaraderie, the squad togetherness we've seen in abundance every game, no matter what. Whereas if you compare it to the Everton game going backwards to that point when Aubameyang was in the squad, there's a huge difference in our performances, even when we're winning games when Aubameyang was in the squad. So there's clearly something there, and more than what we're going to probably even find out in the documentary when it comes out in the summer. But the fact that no matter what's gone on, the players haven't let that get to them. The second it all hit the fan in December, they all went, "No, we're coming together," and we've grown as a team, as a club. We've grown, and when most out of the teams that are going for this, I keep saying it, out of the teams going for this Champions League spot, be it full, third, whatever, we're the most consistent. We've lost 2 games, drawn one, won all the rest. And some of them aren't pretty, but we're getting over the line. We're finding ways to win games now. A massive flaw in our thing was, for even under that stage as a Wenger's time, we go up, it'd be a sticky period, and we'd crap the bed, let a goal in, either draw or go on to lose. Most times out, 9 times out of 10, we'd lose. Now we're finding ways to win, and we're now. It's really, it really shows mentalities of certain people on this platform, not on this platform in terms of Arsenal YouTube and their agendas, so we say. They've always said with Arteta, you know what, it's Champions League or nothing. If we don't get Champions League this season, he has to go. Now there's a possibility with 10 games to go for us that we can actually have this Champions League. The changing the goalpost is like, you know what, if we're in it, we're going to get battered, so I don't want to be in it. So we can't fucking win with some people, but I'm one of them. People know that I've obviously come on this channel or my channel or others that have seen me. Know I've had my doubts on Arteta for a while now. But he's slowly starting to turn me around. And you know what? I hold my hands up. And if it goes on the way it goes, I'll hold my hands up. I'm big enough and ugly enough to say I got it wrong.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I'm saying I've been staunchly behind him right from the start, and I've always said I've desperately wanted him to succeed. I can always see something in him, but I hold my hands up. I've come on here, and I've had several moments where I was cracking, and I was worried because I think we all had every right to be quite worried through certain periods of his tenure, and we all had doubts creep in. But I've never stopped being desperate for him to succeed, and that's why it gives me such joy when you see these wins, like I mentioned earlier, because I want, for his sake and for the whole team's sake, I desperately want them to win because I love them all. I love the club. Always have loved the club, and I always will love the club, no matter who's in charge, and no matter who we've got playing. But this is extra special because there's such a lovely, likable bunch of lads that we've got on the pitch, and I think we can all get behind Arteta because he's a really likable guy he's always said the right things. Just to be fair to him, and we can see finally the spring cleaning that he's had to do behind the scenes was a lot deeper than we think. We always have thought, really.
I always said that, because when I said when he came in, I was 50-50. I've never been Arteta in or Arteta out. I've always used a scale or percentages. 50-50 when he came in. I got up to about 90%. I wanted him to leave at one point. 90% out and 10% please stay. Now I'm the other way. I'm about 70%. I'm happy with him as the manager because there's still a little, ways to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be just that little bit slightly holding us all back until he finally gets us over the line this season. Because we saw it before with Unai Emery. Remember when the worst collapse we've ever seen, I think, at the end of the season, when we only needed, 1 point out of 12 to get Champions League football, and we didn't get it. And, that was such a low moment for all of us, I'm sure. So that could happen this season. Touch wood, it won't, clearly. But we seem to have a new resilience and a new strong underbelly because it's not soft anymore, that underbelly. We've got rid of that layer of fat and we've got the six-pack back. So we don't seem to be easy pushovers anymore like we always have been for so many years. But yeah, I want to come to you now, Kunjan, on the sort of next sort of topic, and it's a recurring topic week after week after week, and we've been giving this guy so much praise lately, and I'm hoping, I'm willing to put it down to fatigue this week, because of that 3 games in a week, and I think we could all quite rightly have doubts and worries that he could have got through those games, but I think Lacazette's performance at the week against Villa was probably one of his worst for quite a while. He made quite a few errors in my book at the weekend. And something I've been saying for a few weeks now is that when you get really good performances, coming on as a sub, for example, you should be rewarded for those great performances and great cameos for a place in the team. And I'm, like I said, we have to wait and see. But I'm at the stage, and I heard on another podcast Clive talking about this, and it's something I mentioned, that it's getting to the stage where it's almost impossible to leave out Martinelli, Smith Rowe, the Fab Four, basically, Ødegaard and Saka now, because of their performances, and they warrant it. So do you think it's getting to a stage where it's going to be almost impossible to leave those 4 out? And because, sorry, I'll come on. I'm trying to explain myself, and I'll come to you. But when you get to the stage of having to prove yourself, and you've got people to battle against, like Martinelli's battling Saka for this position at the moment on the left side of our attack, people are quite rightly saying, well, it's the competition that they've got pushing each other on to higher levels all the time. It's good for the team, right? So they're constantly pushing each other, and that's why they're performing so well. And if you take that away by putting them both in a team, then you might lose that a little bit. But I'm saying, on the other side of it, who's pushing Lacazette? Is Lacazette under threat for his position? We haven't got anyone pushing him for his position. So he's, at the moment, getting chosen week after week after week because we've got no one pushing him for that role. But is it getting to that stage whereby either Martinelli or Smith Rowe should be quite rightly, because of their performances, pushing Lacazette for his role in the team? And should Lacazette be being a bit worried at the moment?
9 games left of the season. I think you mentioned a couple of weeks back when we were discussing about moving to a back 3, or should we move Ben White? I think this was after Tomiyasu got suspended or he was injured, and we were thinking of putting Ben White to the right and putting Rob Holding and Gabriel in the center. And it was you who made a very strong point by saying, don't disturb the balance. Leave the back four the way it is because it's working. Do not go pushing Ben White to the right where there's a new dynamic. And even when Cedric came in to replace Tommy Ashley, it was not an instant hit. The gelling started, they started working together, and then they got into the groove. At this stage, considering how weak our attack, when I say attack, I don't mean the forward line. The forward line is fab. But Lacazette as your quintessential number 9, he's not playing the orthodox number 9 role. He is dropping in deep. He is playing, I hate to use this term, but the false 9 position.
And he's
And
working really hard. So hard.
yeah, he's doing there is a certain synergy, there is a certain camaraderie, there is a certain leadership quality, and we've discussed this every week as well. There is a very strong when Xhaka, I think Stan mentioned this, and so did you, about Xhaka's yellow card, whether or not he deserved it or not, but the way Lacazette handled it was the most mature thing to do at that moment. I love Odegaard. We all love Odegaard. But he's a hothead. If Odegaard was given the captain's armband and that had happened, I think Odegaard would have poked the referee harder. So Lacazette did play a certain mature, calm, collective role to take Xhaka away and try and diffuse that. These are certain things that we are not witnessing, and we're looking at a very poor performance at Villa. If it wasn't for the penalty against Leicester, he wouldn't even have broken his duck. We have to. It's the old saying: "Don't fix what's not broken." And when I say that, I'm not saying Lacazette's is our answer. Absolutely not. We do need a striker. We do need a new forward come the summer. But right now, what's happening? Let's get it together. Let's work a little harder and take it across the line. Because the question is, if Lacazette tomorrow, hypothetically, the way we lost Ramsdale, the way we've lost Tomiyasu, the way we even lost Martinelli, and Emile Smith-Rowe played a good game, but you could see the robustness of Martinelli missing when we played Villa. If Martinelli was playing on the left, I think Matty Cash would be Matty broke. And we need to understand this dynamic. We need to understand that we do have a good forward line, the Fab Four, the Fantastic Four. And right now, once Lacazette leaves is when you can start putting that other piece of the puzzle. But for the next 9 games, if you ask me, stick to what's happening.
Stan, totally, you've got to obviously take everything that Kunjan just said in its total sense. But one thing I'm going to add onto the question for you as well, on top of that, is when you are going into these games and you're spending the last 20 or 30 minutes obviously defending that 1-0 lead.
Yeah.
If we'd have been more clinical in certain situations, then we wouldn't be doing that. That goal that free kick at the end may have just been a consolation goal for Villa, and it wouldn't have been so stressful because we'd be 2 or 3-0 up, quite rightly. And he's obviously in this team to be that link-up player at the moment. I think he's forgotten the fact that he's also, should be entitled to score the odd goal here and there as well. But he didn't quite do that properly either on the weekend. Missing that free ball to Ødegaard, for example, when he took that shot instead, and a couple of other moments at the time as well where he couldn't quite get it out from under his feet. Now, I don't know whether that is because of fatigue, because of that week he just had, or whether it is just a deficiency in his game at the moment. But what I mean is, we do still need him to chip in for goals to stop these games being so tight affairs. So, taking everything into account, what Kunjan just said, and what I said before, I mean, what is your thoughts on this situation? Do you think that ESR and Martinelli are playing too well to leave them out now? or do you think
I get what you're saying.
changing is not an option at the moment?
I get what you're saying, because you're saying, well, if those two are playing so well, don't they deserve to be rotated into the team? Whereas you feel that Lacazette's not providing as much and should be taken out, and maybe put Martinelli through the middle, which allows ESO to come in.
That was a lot more concise way of saying it than I actually did. So yes, you're right.
I get what you're saying, and I think ordinarily that would be a viable option, but we're not in an ordinary situation at the moment. And there's a number of factors. One, if you look at our bench, right, we've only got a couple of attacking factors, which is Pepe and Eddie. And as you know, they can both blow a little bit hot and cold. The other one is ESR. And I think that having Pepe and ESR on the bench at least gives us a bit of variety, which is something that we're lacking, because after them two, it's Eddie. After that, we go to our plan B. A lot of fans, by the way, say Arteta doesn't have a plan B. He does. He takes off somebody and brings in Holding. And changes the formation. Yeah, he does that. So we do have a plan B, but we don't really have much in attacking variety. So a lot of people are saying, "Oh, we should be starting Pepe." I actually like the chaos that he brings from the bench. You know, I'm not so sure whether if we start him, whether we would get that what we would need. You know, tired legs. You're bringing on Nicolas Pepe on the 70th minute. He can cause a bit of chaos. ESR the same. Ordinarily, though, I get what you'd be. I'd be behind you. Yeah, they deserve to be in the team, but we're so shorn at the minute, and we don't have much variety on the bench. I'm glad that ESR and Pepe are at least being able to chip in with something, and help change the game a little bit if needed, if we're lacking in that area. But so I'm with Kunjan, man. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I mean, you have to look at the style. It's a big glaring hole, right? There was one game where we were constantly using Saka as the target man. 2 games back, and he'd pick up the ball, and when he takes it past his man, Lacazette hasn't got into the box in time. So when he's going to make the cross, we're hoping that Odegaard can make up the distance and get in there, or maybe Martinelli can tuck in and maybe get in there. Lacazette's not going to make it. His knees won't allow him to get into the box that quick. And it was really telling that Mikel Arteta said that, I think it was 2 games back. He said, what did he said? He said he felt that we do really well box to box, but the games like these are won in the box.
That was against Liverpool. That was after the Liverpool game, yeah.
And I think what he's trying to say there is that we're missing that attacking presence at the killer instinct.
That's exactly the point. Yeah, that's exactly the point, because there's so many cases where he's just like 5 or 10 yards off the pace, and it's not his fault, And again, I keep saying this before. I want to make a caveat that I'm not knocking Lacazette, because we know what his limitations are. We know what kind of player he is, and we know how hard he's working for the team, and he's been doing a wonderful job.
He hit the nail on the head. When we had that situation with the referee and the way that Lacazette dealt with it, that is there right there. That's there should be younger players that should be going in subliminally. This is how you do it. This is how it's handled. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Without having that presence, we kind of we kind of like we fucked ourselves, right? Which is why if Lacazette does go in the summer and we bring in some more players, we need 2 players that have a similar profile in the team. They don't have to be 30, but they can be 26, 27, 28. Maybe have been successful in other leagues, but they can take up just so that when players, the younger players, they look at how they prepare before each game, what they do after each game. All of these things, if we take Lacazette out, they're going to be missing that a little bit, I feel. So we need to make sure that maturity is replicated, so that you can keep learning.
No, I think that's a really good point. I do think that he offers that leadership on the pitch, and I do think that players should be watching him and learning from him in those situations. That's 100%. And I just want to get the point. I'm not saying that I want to change things. I want to answer the question. I want to get your guys' view on all this. And what's your thoughts on the whole thing, Ryan? Because there's pluses and minuses, and I am willing to put it down to the fact that it was the last of a very, very last game of a very difficult week. Where he played 3 games and he came through it all very well, and I know he got substituted in the last game, but his legs probably had gone at that point, so it probably wasn't having his best game all round. But I do worry about the fact that maybe one game coming up soon in this really, really important run-in, that it's going to come back and bite us on the arse that we haven't taken those chances. And one game is not going to go our way, and we're either going to end up being 1-0 up and drawing it 1-1, dropping 2 points, or, God forbid, losing the game because we're not taking our chances. And at the end of the day, ESR he's our joint top scorer now with Saka.
Yeah.
And if he can't get in the team after his performances, scoring those goals, it's a shame for him in some ways. But I totally get everyone's points, and I'm on board with it all, really. So what do you think?
Again, with like I said, nothing against him. If anything, I've been praising him a lot recently as well, especially the professionalism. You've mentioned it on the watch songs we do. The professionalism he's showing, considering his contract is up at the end of the season, you wouldn't think the way he's playing. When you compare it to someone that's in Barcelona now, who wasn't doing that for the last year and a half since he's on a new deal, who was on 300k a week. He leads, but there's something there are pros and cons, and one of the pros is, like you said, the leadership. He leads by example, the maturity. Players obviously look up to him, and the link-up play. He said back in last season after the Boxing Day game against Chelsea, he actually was enjoying playing with the likes of Smith, Martinelli, and Saka, and bringing them into play because that's sort of his game. That's sort of always been his game. But obviously, before he got his ankle injury, going to that second season of Emery, before he got sacked. Ever since then, he lost that pace he did have to get in the box. That sharpness he had, he's lost. That's completely gone. So we're utilising him the best way we can. And because of obviously, as I was saying before, about his leadership skills, that's another reason why he was vice captain now the club captain until the end of the season. So the likes of whoever takes over, it does look like Tini will be our captain because he's like second choice now at the moment. So it's just again, like Stan was saying, them players like the Tierney, the other guards, and all that, looking up to him and actually realising that's how you lead by example. That's how you, as a captain, or not even not as in their captain, but as a teammate, you don't go over the top. You don't lose your head. You control yourself. And as I say, I keep going back to the professionalism of him. The fact that he's literally more likely going to be leaving. He leaves everything on the pitch, which again, the likes of Saka, Smith, Martinelli will see that, and they'll learn off that, hopefully. And it'll better their careers. But as you say, if he is to go, we do need to bring in no matter how many players we bring in the summer, at least 2 or 3 have got to be of that same ilk. Otherwise, it could be a very long season for us in terms of our disciplinary side of things. Because if Jacques is still here, we know he's got a hot head. You mentioned before the youthfulness of Odegaard, even though he's a captain for his country, he's got a bit of a hot head. And yeah, we do. For the sort of striker we're looking at as well, a goal-scoring striker that links up the play, does what Lacazette does, but also knows where to put the ball in the back of the net as well. You sort of do need that sort of experience, or not, if you want to put it that way. So I think in certain games going forward, 9-10 games left. I think the next 3 games are winnable games. In terms of Palace, even though Selhurst Park is an absolute nightmare for us since they got re-promoted into the Premier League, the fact they're in the semi-final, obviously it's Chelsea, they've got a chance to get to a final possibly. Their players might have one eye on that and not be, even though Vieira is the manager and he won't have it, but the players themselves, he can't, once they got across that line, he can't control them. They might have one eye and not want to get injured or get sent off or this, that, and the other, or get a booking suspended. So that could benefit us massively. So if we can go there, I'd start them against Palace, get a couple, at least try and get 2 goals clear, and around the 55th, about either 55th, 60th minute, bring him off, put Eddie or whoever on, or not even Eddie, actually bring him off for say Smith Rowe and put Martinelli just say down the middle. Try something different there for the last 35, 40 minutes of the game. And then we've got Brighton at home. That's a winnable game. Again, 2-goal lead, take him off, try different things there. Then Southampton. If we can get 9 points out of them games, then for the Chelsea game, we're away, aren't we? Chelsea.
Yeah.
So that's the one where I'd actually vest him at the start. And if Arteta was to do what I've said in terms of putting Smith Rowe down the left, Saka down the right, Martinelli down the middle, for the first, at least for the first half, give that a go against Chelsea. It's something different. They're not going to be planning for it.
I think it was earlier.
Lacazette at the start, so defensively they won't be expecting that. And then obviously bring him back in for the Man United game for 45, 50 minutes. Then go just use him sparingly to the best of our ability to get us over that line.
Isn't that the week where we've got another 3 games in 6 or 7 days as well? That one you just mentioned.
After Southampton, Chelsea, United,
Yeah. So exactly, we're going to have a similar situation as we've just been through, aren't we? So that's a good point, actually, as well.
I'd just like to add, if you are going to find a way to get all of them into the team at the same time and omitting Lacazette, I would go the other way and keep Martinelli on the left-hand side.
Yeah, me too.
I would move Emil Smith-Rowe
that
middle because I think what Martinelli can do on the ball, like moving the ball closer. Getting the yardage, so to speak. If you were playing American football, he does it so well. Yeah. And then not only does he give you the yardage, he's also got it in his locker to actually finish it and put it away as well. And I just feel that maybe if he was in the middle, we wouldn't get that much out of him.
Yeah, that's true.
ESR static position in the middle, I think he might be able to do better there. I think Mikel Arteta said as well. I thought he was saying something recently about him playing.
It could be a 9, yeah.
So
he did. I've said that before. I think that's the way I would go. Going back to what you said earlier, Kunjan, about what I said about not moving Ben White out to right back, for example. I think, why would you move Martinelli out his most effective position at the moment and switch them round when you've only got to swap one component of the team? Similar way, and I feel that he could do an excellent job there as well. But I think that, listening to everything that you guys have said as well about the situation, I think that's probably the best way to go. What Ryan just said as well about keeping it the same at the moment, but gradually trying it out at the end of games if we've got a good lead, for the last 20, 30 minutes. Try it then. Get them all on the pitch then together and use that time to see whether we can get them to gel. Because I think it was the earlier game in the season, one of those terrible first 3 games where Martinelli did actually start up front against Chelsea, didn't he?
Yeah, that's right.
And it didn't. Obviously, it was the first time he'd sort of done it at that point, and it was probably one of the worst games to start trying it out. But if we can get him to sort of not give up on it after one go, or playing them all together, try it out and be persistent with it over the next few games. At the end of games, if we've got the chance, if we've got the lead to do that.
To see you describing that, it just takes me all the way back to Theo Walcott. With him continuing, and then when it finally happened, he was almost like, "Can I go back out on the right, please?"
Exactly. Yeah,
I like it up here.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's a very good point. But I think they differ in lots of ways. Very similar in some ways, but I think Martinelli's already a lot stronger than Theo Walcott ever was. I don't think he's Theo Walcott's always been quite a lightweight player, hasn't he? To play as a centre forward.
I look at Martinelli and I see Ronaldo when he was at Man United. When he was
I do.
Was very first that Ronaldo played on the left. I see a similar kind of a player, and back then as well, his goal. It took him a while to start building up his goal return, right? So I think he could go the same way.
Yeah, and don't forget, obviously, Henry started out on the wide position. He never really played full-time centre-forward, did he? He was always played wherever he wanted. Obviously, he's very special, Thierry Henry.
He started out on the left as well.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I just think he will get to a stage where he'll just explode with his goals, and once you pop, you can't stop. I think he'll just won't stop scoring then at that point. But I that's the way I sort of think it could happen, because he's got to try it in some two different ways. Kunjan, he's got to try it in some way, because we don't want to become too predictable. We've got to have different plans. You know, like Stan said earlier about having a plan B. We've got the plan B whereby we can see games out by bringing players like Rob Holding and going to 3 at the back, etc. We've got to have a different way of sort of bamboozling our opponents and not be too predictable as well, by doing something different from time to time, like playing the Fab Four at once without Lacazette. And that's probably the best way of introducing it in the last part of games if we've got a comfortable lead.
I think I said this earlier, I'll say it again. We are maybe 2 injuries from setting serious panic. If we get an injury to Partey or Xhaka or Lacazette, we will set some serious panic. A call we made to Xavi. Listen, do you mind sending Aubameyang back? Just one game. Just one game. We've been in serious panic. I'll be very honest with you. So keeping that contingency in mind, and you said something very important, which is something I've been speaking, well, at least to myself, the last few weeks. Our substitutions are so predictable that the only thing unpredictable about a game against Aston Villa was one of our substitutes was in the starting 11 because Martinelli was not available. The pattern of our substitutions are Pepe, followed by Emil, and finally would be Eddie. You know, now having Emil in the starting 11, it was Pepe, Eddie, Rob. It's so predictable that now if hypothetically Saka gets an injury and Pepe starts, we're going to be like, okay, so this is our pattern. We're going to have Emil, we're going to have Eddie, and just El Neni. I don't know. Like, there's going to be some sort of predictability about our substitutions. There's going to be some sort of predictability about our substitution. I'm with Stan and I'm with Andrew about playing Emil down the middle. But the question is when, because the template has been set. Gabriel runs himself to the ground. You bring on Emil. He brings the pace. He brings the robustness. He gets his goal. Why would you take off Gabriel Martinelli, bring on Emil Smith-Rowe, and eventually try and put him down the middle, take Lacazette off, and again cause an imbalance, maybe by putting Pepe and Saka, both left-footers. Pepe doesn't like playing on the left. Saka is great on the right. We need to have some sort of a balance. We need to have some sort of a balance in the front four. And our number 10 position has been so strongly certified by Odegaard. When Odegaard goes off, and if hypothetically we have Martinelli, Emil comes in the middle, and he's not making those runs down the middle. He's playing off Lacazette. So again, the problem becomes when at which point do we understand what tactic is going to work against which team? Against Crystal Palace, yes, it's going to be a test. Yes, it's an away game. We have to rock up. We remember the last time we played Crystal Palace, and that's when the whole celebration nonsense started because of Lacazette's last second winner. we have to keep in mind that when we go down there, we have to try and get a result. I wanted to even bring up this whole mentality that the players are having, and there is a certain sense of a winning mentality with each and every one. Pepe was not performing, came back from AFCON, started performing, and up until the Villa game, he was playing phenomenal. Every time he came on, he did a job. When he came on for us against Villa, it looked like he came on for Villa. He took on a Villa player and a beautiful pass to a Villa player, and thus leading him to go and make a reckless challenge. this is something like I think Stan was mentioning this about having Pepe come off the bench. He's great when you're chasing the game. When you ask him to do a job for defensively, it's like he's left one shoe in the locker. So
What about-
this is sorry.
And I was going to say, you can't talk about that and without speaking about Eddie after the Villa game as well.
Ooh. No, I mean, like
I mean-
when we're talking about giving Lacazette a 1-year extension, it just goes to show the younger option, the younger homegrown option. No one's speaking about him. Eddie has actually lowered his valuation by his performances. 0 league goals, 0.
I know
You have to-
exactly. This is I mean, you can't. I mean, I'll bring you in, Stan, because of this conversation about the substitutions as well. Because obviously, I do agree that that Pepe has been good up until that Villa game substitution, but Nketiah's performances since he's come on, the first maybe 4 or 5 games ago, he was actually making a difference against the Villa. Wolves. Against Wolves, he came on and he was really good. I think it was the game after Wolves, was it? If I'm thinking correctly, he came on, he hit the good long shot, hit the bar. He did fairly well. But since then, I mean, seriously, I mean, was he drunk when he came on against Villa? I mean, he looked drunk. I mean, it was ridiculous. And you can't knock Arteta. I think he made the right subs against Villa. But you can't legislate for how poor they were when they come on, can you? I mean, I'm talking about, obviously, the obvious ones, Pepe and Nketiah against Villa. I mean, Rob Holding came on and, did his job. But, I mean, what was going on there? I mean, you can't legislate for performances like that.
And that's why they don't start games. At the end of the day, that's why they come on, right at the very death to maybe just try and give somebody a bit of a breather. I mean, Eddie Nketiah doesn't want to sign another contract. I don't want him to sign another contract. So he had an opportunity to go to Palace, but there was a problem with wages. So I mean, it's up to him now. But who else are we going to use? If Martinelli's been playing all game on the left, and then he changes him, Lacazette off and put him through the middle, Martinelli himself could be tired by that stage in the game. So he doesn't have a good performance down the middle, and then we start having people saying, "Well, that's shit." But you're not going to get a full representation if he's already been playing 70 minutes on the left and be running his arse off.
Yeah, that's the problem, isn't it?
We only have what we have at the moment, but that's why I say each game is like a cup final, because we're only like one injury or one red card away from panic stations.
Yeah, that's very true.
And players
Touch wood.
like Tavares and Lokonga, they're not getting any minutes as subs. So
that was going to be my next point. That was going to be, you've brought me on to that next point perfectly, Stan. Why aren't they? Because that's another way of changing the game, isn't it? And keeping them fresh and keeping them involved.
I'd rather be doing that and giving them some minutes in case you have to start them in a game, and then you know that they're not coming in cold, if you know what I mean. They can get minutes at the end of games, Would it hurt to take Tierney off on the 80th minute and put on Tavares? Would it hurt to switch out Laka or Partey to put in Lokonga? But he seems hell-bent on the substitutions that he uses. It's, ESR, obvious reasons, because he scores goals, Pepe and Eddie. And I think he probably does that because he's got to rest Saka, got to give Saka some rest time, and Lacazette because he's the old fella and his knees might not be able to hold out. So I think he's hampered. Once we get a striker that can go 90 minutes, for example, and still have a little bit left in the tank, you can making changes in other places of the pitch.
See, that's exactly what I was thinking. And when you're talking about Sambi and Tavares, they've done really well this season as well. Because they played a lot earlier on in the season, and they weren't embarrassing themselves. Let's put it that way. They were playing quite well, and we were all impressed. We can't forget that. Yes, they had some performances against Liverpool that were below par, but I mean, a lot of players have had below par performances away at Anfield, and it was a big thing for them at their age. But surely, when we really might, I mean, God forbid we have like a bad injury to like a midfielder or something, we will desperately need Sambi to come in. We'll need him to be, yeah, exactly. So why
I've got
aren't?
a lot of love for Elneny. Exactly all the things you were saying earlier about Rob Holding.
Yes,
I used to say the same. Well, I still do. I always felt that Elneny's a great guy to come on and close the
me
game.
too. Me too. I said a couple of weeks ago I'd like him to stay on at the end of this season because he's another one that's contract runs out.
And
I'd
they
like
know
him to
their
stay
lane.
part of the squad.
They know what lane they're in. They don't give any aggro. They might not play every single game. When they're called upon, they're dependable. And we're short anyway of players. Why would we want to make a headache for ourselves by having to replace them as well as increasing what we need? If they can stay on board for another season while we continue to fatten out the squad, I think it will be a great help.
Yeah, exactly. I'd like him to. I've always said I'd like Elneny because it is, again, very, very similar. Like I said, what I said about Rob Holding. He never complains. He's not on a lot of money at all. And I think he's a really valuable member of the squad because of the fact he doesn't moan. He's always there celebrating with the players as well. You can see how invested he is in the team, the squad. I've said it 100 times as well about watching the training videos. He's always the professional one, really giving it his all in training every single time.
His biggest attribute for me is if you was to use a measuring stick and let's say you said, well, technically, or you know, he's only got 75% as our best midfielder has. The quality that he has is that when he plays, he gives you all of the 75%.
Exactly.
You get all of it. Yeah. And we've had players, I'm not going to mention their names because they've gone now, who were supposedly a lot better than Elneny, but you were lucky to get 75% out of them.
Exactly.
Yeah? So
he doesn't leave anything on the pitch ever, does he? He always gives his all. But we need players like him, and we need players like Tavares to be invested still and to be really involved. And I'll come to you, Ryan. It does seem weird how they're not coming on as subs towards the end of the game to help see things out as well. You know, who was it that came on for Aubameyang? Was that... Sorry, not Aubameyang. Bloody hell, I've got him on the brain now. Erdegaard. It was it Rob Holding?
It was Rob Holding, yeah. Just in the last 5 or so minutes of the game, yeah. See the game out.
So, I mean, bringing on an Elneny at that point to shore up the midfield and to sit deep and to cut out those passing lanes, or bringing on a Tavares for maybe Smith Rowe on the left hand side as well to help shore things up, to solid things up. Just seem a bit of. I'm not criticising Arteta because I think he, like I said earlier, he brought on the right players probably, but they just didn't perform for him. But sometimes you do need to give these players minutes so they're not coming in completely cold. If and when, God forbid, we do need them to cover injury.
No. It's
a tough one. It's a tough one.
It's a tough one, but it's like it's been said already. The subs have become predictable. He does need to mix it up. I mean, as you say, there's no reason because of how Nuno Tavares, for example, does play. He's going. He said he's more of an attacking wing back than a defensive guy. It does make sense that every now and then, you know what, even if Martinelli or Smith Rowe are playing, like one's come or whatever, to take whoever's playing on that left-hand side off for Nuno Tavares, just because he does have that attacking output. He can cross the ball in. And a bit like Martinelli, he can go down to the byline and cross it and pull it back. So he wouldn't lose that side of the game either if he did that. But these are things Arteta should know. I'm assuming he does. He ain't an idiot. Let's be honest. And should be putting out there. I mean, because otherwise, it will get to a point in this running where teams will be like, well, we know at X amount of point that this one's coming on, that one's coming on, that one's coming on, and that one's going off, and that one's going off, and that one's going off. Was a setup for that basically. He sort of needs to keep the opposition on their toes in terms of not being as predictable.
Yeah,
and it's also, as you say, it's to custom to the game as well.
Exactly. Well, it's overall. I don't want to end on a sour note because it seems like we are, but it's a very positive time at the moment, and we're not allowed to celebrate, so we need to keep it on a very low key. But over the international break, obviously we've not got much football coming up over the next couple of weeks. Obviously, I think it's 2 weeks yesterday, isn't it? Our next game.
We've got 13 days till our next game.
There was a comment earlier on about bringing the quizzes back over the international break, and I know that Mike's been away. I think he went away with his. He's a teacher, isn't he? I think he went away with his students. I was listening to his podcast on the Gooners podcast. I don't know what it's Gooners. I can't remember what it's called now. You know what I mean? He does a podcast. Anyway.
Greece and Italy you went to.
Yeah, exactly. So I think he's come back now. So we'll get that, I'm sure, organised. But I was thinking next week as well. I don't know if you're available, Stan, for this time next week. I do a quiz myself as well called the Let's Get Quizzical, where we discuss our knowledge on ex-Arsenal players. I was wondering whether you might be free for that.
No, I tend to stay away from. See, for me, quizzes are nice, fun, and easy. But I've listened to all you lot when you do your quizzes, and I like the triple factor.
Oh no, not this one, mate. Not this one. If you have a watch of some of the older ones of my one. It's just basically what we do. There's our ex-Arsenal players, and we look to see how well you know them. And you get a player, and they may have played for, say, 5 clubs previously, different clubs, right. And you against someone else will bid on how many clubs you can mention of the ones that he's played for in his past. Or since he left Arsenal as well. And so say you could name 2, Kunjan, you get a chance to either ask him to name those 2, or you can say, no, actually, I can name 3 of the 5. And then if you can say, yeah, I'll name 3, then you can go say, Stan, well, can you match the 3, or can you want to go 4? If not, you get him to mention it. And the one who wins that gets the point. It's as simple as that. So it's nothing hard.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
But make sure you watch it, though. Make sure you watch it, because we'll look at doing that next week, because obviously we're going to be, unless there's some major news over the next week or so, then we can do something like that next week. So everyone in the chat, make sure
we do a Kahoot quiz on a Sunday on the Arsenal fan circle. And Ray always cheats with that, so I'm not no. I'm a bad loser as well, so I know.
Well, let's we'll see if we can get it organised in the week. It's a good bit of fun, and we can at least spend half the show maybe doing that if you guys are available. And make sure the guys have been brilliant in the chat tonight. Join us in and watch it. But we'll leave it there. We've been going for nearly an hour and 20 minutes, so which is not too bad at all. But thank you ever so much for coming on, Stan. It's been brilliant that you've joined us again. So hopefully it won't be too long till you come on again in the future.
No, thanks for having me. Obviously, Ryan, yourself, and nice to meet you, Kunjan. I've seen you on the videos in the past. And to everyone in the chat box as well. And if anyone's around over in the United States at around about 20 to 6 PST time, come and join us on the Arsenal fan circle.
Definitely, yeah. Yeah, definitely go over there, give it a subscribe, because it's a great channel. There's some great people on it. So, yes. Kunjan, thank you ever so much for coming back on again, mate. Look forward to seeing you next week.
And you'd mentioned we're not allowed to celebrate. So I want to say something about not celebrating. And that is a certain Italian gentleman complained about our manager's fixtures. And our manager said, I have nothing to say about any manager. So when we talk about a club with class, we don't have to say much, because we don't celebrate class. We don't celebrate this. We just let the club and the representatives talk about it.
Exactly. Very true. Very true. And Ryan, thank you for coming on again, mate. It's been a pleasure, and hopefully you'll be back on next week. What have you got going on your channel this week? We've got a watch along tomorrow, haven't we?
Yeah, we've got what's on the first leg. It's the Emirates, I believe. First leg of the Women's Champions League quarterfinal against the Wolfsburg's women's team. Very tough tie, but it's winnable over 2 legs. So we'll be covering that tomorrow night. Obviously, the North London derby on Saturday afternoon. And then the second leg, obviously, I think it's next Thursday. I'll have to double checking this in a bit. But yeah, so we'll be, as I say, we'll be doing it. Myself and you will be obviously doing a game tomorrow. I'm waiting to hear back from Leo. I don't know if he's recovered from Saturday yet. If you know, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, and yeah, just keep an eye on obviously the likes of Smith Rowe and Saka and Ben White for England. See how they're doing, all the other international players for Arsenal. And that's another positive. That's a positive we can actually end on. We've actually got
Yes.
a lot of our players now on international duty. And that's a good thing in one sense, because obviously it's been a running joke that we got so bad that not even the national teams wanted our players. Just hope they come back injury free.
Exactly, and well done to them for getting the call ups. Really big shame for Ramsdale, who probably would have started one of the games. So that's a shame for him personally. But well done to William Saliba as well for getting his first France call up. So that's another real positive
as well for Brazil.
It's a good reason to start watching the internationals again, because I don't really watch it. But now that we've got a handful of players in there, it's a reason to watch. You know?
Well, you may laugh. It's the exact reason why I haven't been watching England for so long. And the fact that we have got some players back in the squad means that I probably will watch them now because they've been left out for so long. So, I mean, I watched the Euros because of Saka.
Yeah.
Even more reason to watch them now with Smith Rowe and hopefully Ben White in the team, because if he chooses Maguire over Ben White, then he really needs some medical help. I think Gareth Southgate needs to get his head looked at. Yeah, exactly. So,
one more positive. There's just one more positive, and that's something that I'm very, very happy about.
Hope it's nothing we're going to celebrate.
I'm celebrating. I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to celebrate.
Go ahead.
Come next Tuesday, I get 1 hour.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
So, yeah.
That's right. Yes. Clocks go forward next week. Yeah, brilliant. So you get to go to bed at a decent time.
Yes. It's actually nearly midnight on my side. So now, come next week, it'll be closer to 11 p.m.
Yeah, that is a positive.
Yay! No celebrating. No.
Watch it. Keep it calm.
Sorry. My mistake. I'm sorry.
But yes, thank you to the chat for all of you that have been in there this evening. Gary, Stephen, and I know that a few others dropped in earlier. Let me just make sure I'm forgetting on Colonel, Thunder Road, who's been great. A bloke called the Mr. Arsenal podcast. I don't know. God, I don't know who that one is. It's a new one on me.
Block him.
But,
block that guy.
But no, I'm actually, one thing I'll just say as well. I gutted I missed your show yesterday because I was out with Greengrass, and I know that Melvin was on it yesterday. Leads me nicely into the fact that I'm actually listening to it on Spotify at the moment. I'm about halfway through, so make sure you go and listen to Ryan's and this channel on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or all the other ones that are out there. When you're out and about doing your stuff on a daily basis, doing your housework or whatever, you can just stick it on. You haven't got to sit and watch it. Make sure you give us a 5-star review on there as well. That'd be really, really helpful to help other fans find the channel on whatever podcast platform you listen to. But I'll leave it there. Look forward to seeing you all next week. And let's try and make this bloody interlull go a bit quicker somehow. I hate interlulls, and this is a real good way to end the show on a really somber note without celebrating. So there's going to be no come on you Arsenals now. There's not going to be any come on you Gunners. We'll just end it silently.